Well, hey, how are we doing? We're back for another stream today. Hopefully you can all hear me. Hopefully you're all having a great night. Hopefully it's not been too hard of a start of the week for you. We are so pleased that earlier today we hit that 50 mark here on Twitch. And yeah, the giveaway is live. That is now an official thing. We put it out on the social medias. It's across the board, but you can only enter it here on Twitch. And the actual entry date is going to be in about 3 weeks' time. But each week on Monday, starting yesterday, so that's the first of 4 weeks, and there's another 3 weeks to go, we started with this Neon Blossom Chunk, which we inked up on stream. This will be the first of 4 items that we'll be putting into this singular giveaway. And I'm really excited about it. I know what's going to be in there. And I would want to win it. So hopefully you do too. And each week we'll do a stream where we either do something affiliated with it, or we will go in and show you what it is. But tonight, on this small planet, on Earth, we're going to finish detailing this, what we were working on today. So we had the TX130, which we managed to get the base layers all done on. And this is for Star Wars Legion. And we still have some moving parts on there, which I'm pretty happy with. But we managed to get all of the yellow done, because we're going with the 212th Attack Battalion as our theme for the Clone Army in the Grand Army of the Republic that we're doing. We still need to add a lot to this. We've got to get some wear on there, some tear on there. We still got to do the Commander. We've got him primed up, and we've got the first layer of dry brushes done, but we need to go in, and unlike the other clones that we had, where we primed them white and then painted them the black, I'm going to have to paint the white on this one because of how awkward of a mini it is. But that's fine. Absolutely fine. Hey Fluffy, how you doing? Great to see you. We've got a few things that we're going to do tonight to age and wear this, but there's a few other things we need to do first. And we need to pick out some more details. Things like these little carabiner clips. It's like locking areas. These top bits just here. We want to get some of that turret hatch ring just there. Want to get the missiles, and there are some wires just inside there as well, which I don't know if you'll be able to see beyond that in the darkness. Just about make them out on the PTZ there. So we're going to work on getting those ones done. Well, we continue our push, because although we're past the 50 followers, apparently I can see there's 57. My Twitch is telling me that I've only got 47 followers. So we're going to carry on. But the giveaway is live. So that's the main thing there. So where shall we begin? So we've got these missiles here, and I think what we're going to do is we're going to take some Corax white. And I'm going to do the main body, the fuselage of the missile in white. And then we're going to put red on each of the fins. As I think that will show up quite well. And hopefully give us a slightly different look on this mini. How is everyone this evening? How are you all doing? Okay, so I'm going to take some of this Corax white, and I'm actually going to have to decant it, because I will need to thin it down. I actually put some thinner in this recently, because I'm getting towards the back end of the tub, so I'm just going to put it into there. Not necessarily just thin it down, but to check the consistency and the thickness of this particular paint. So, actually, in all fairness, we might get away with that. We don't want it to be too thick, because obviously we'd end up with just a really uneven paint job. And as Duncan Rhodes says, 2 thin coats is much better. Good evening, Warrior Prince 3D. How the devil are you? I hope you're feeling better, bud. You better be, because I'm going to make you feel worse on Thursday. For those of you who don't know who Warrior Prince 3D 3D in, 3D is, go check them out. Richard does some amazing 3D printing, even to the point where I 3D print and I use him. Because his stuff is so good. Herbalist has just done a giveaway on her Instagram, who you should also go check out, for one of his printed book nooks that she painted up. Richard also does a show with me on a Thursday lunchtime called Painting Up the Monster Manual, where each week we spend 1 hour, 1 mini, and we try and get it to a tabletop ready standard. Sometimes they're too big and we just can't do it. Other times it was nice and easy. However, this week we're going with the on-keg. But also, each week, I make Richard roll a level 3 character at random on D&D Beyond, and we roll initiative against each other. And we have a good time. I'm glad you're feeling better, bud. Very glad. Hopefully, you had an army of people looking after you, as you rightly deserve. So I've got very shaky hands, so I'm just using the table and the actual back end of the model to support myself as I go around with this Corax white and just get that missile painted up. But we got the yellow on there earlier for the banding of the missile and for the warhead. If only just little old me. Ah, I'm sorry to hear that. If I was there, I would have looked after you. But I wasn't. So I couldn't. And obviously, as we said at the start of the stream, we do have that giveaway that will be going on, and we'll be adding something to it each week for the next 3 weeks. And it will be open worldwide. So any of you from across the pond in any other countries, we will ship it to anywhere in the world. And those chunks that we're giving away, you can only win them. I do not sell them. So if you want one, follow us on here, as this will be the only place the giveaway is done. Here on Twitch, because obviously this video will go up onto YouTube. Hey Jeff, how you doing? I know who you are, Last Son JT. Good to see you, bud. Just painting up a Legion tank and announcing our followers giveaway, because we hit the 50 today, which is the goal that we were looking for. And for those of you who haven't seen it yet, this is the Neon Blossom chunk, which thanks to Craig from Dragon Skull and Chaotic Paradox last night here on Twitch, we inked up in gold. That really pops out of there. This is one of our chunks, so compared to a regular size dice, that's the difference. And only a few people have these. We're giving it away. Cannot buy them. So, if you want to take part, thank you very much, Jeff. I'm pretty proud of it. There was a follower called Ello who suggested the colours, and I ran with it, and that's what we ended up with. But if you're following along, every Monday at 8 o'clock, we're going to do a stream. And in that stream, for the next 3 weeks, I'm going to be adding an item to the giveaway. And by the end of that last stream, that third and final stream, there will be a keyword given to you all by me. And if you enter that into chat, live on the stream, you'll be entered into winning that dice and the other 3 items that we will be adding to the giveaway. As a sort of gratitude and thanks for getting us here on our journey. So if you're not following already, hit the follow button. And we will, hopefully, make one of you a lucky winner of one of our dice. And some other goodies. So, the only trouble with having stuck these on before with these missiles, there is a very awkward position just here, trying to get underneath that fin at the back. Hopefully, I won't make too much of a mess. So just steadily, with the tip, try and push that in there. It's going to be weird this week as well, Jeff, without playing Dragonlance on a Friday. Got such a long break. And with that cliffhanger, I don't want to wait that long. Dave could have at least taken out one of the Gen Con guys. And we could have just carried on. Oh, Warrior Prince, I have just seen your text. I mean, you can if you want to. Sorry, I will alleviate on this once I've confirmed something with Warrior Prince. Very happy for you to do such things. But that's only if you're cool with it, really. I know that you wouldn't be saying it if you weren't, but I just want to double check. And then we can sort out the details. And hopefully... I know, mate. Miss it already. Plus, I really hope I live. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, Jeff is one of the players in our Dragonlance campaign over on Band of Badgers. I play the heroic and always kind and always peaceful Fizzwiz Clockhand, the Gnome Wizard. Jeff is a peaceful pirate, and neither of us have committed any war crimes ever. But at the end of the last episode, he was left on 0 hit points in a game where we are not having death saving throws. And to say that we're a little worried for his character is an understatement. Dave is out to get him. Very much out to get him. So I'm just going to go across some of those top edges with that Corax white. And just make sure we've picked out all those areas. Make sure it's nice and even. I know that we're going to use some red on this in a minute anyway. But we want it to be nice and smooth. Okay, Richard, yeah, I've just seen that. If you message me what you're thinking, and then I'll let you put it in chat as well afterwards, just to make sure that, like, it's all hunky-dory, before you put something absolutely crazy in there, and I'm like, dude, you're going to lose so much money. So, let us... Holy shit, really? Okay. I'm as long as you're cool with that, dude, I will let you... So, the mystery behind what Richard is texting me right now, even though he's here in stream, and I will let him put it into chat. Richard is going to add to the giveaway. Already, we're going to have 5 items now. So, Warrior Prince 3D is going to add the second item, and I'll let you, Richard at Warrior Prince 3D, tell everybody all about it. That's very kind of you, my friend. I need a pokey poke for my painty paint. So I'm going to take some ultramarine blue from the army painter. And right now I'm going to get that into the window holes. I will be popping in a dragon. Freaking dragon. How awesome is that? So for those of you who don't know, Artisan Guild had a recent bundle set, which was absolutely nuts. And Richard, when he's part of the channel here on a Thursday, is just so awesome. And like, when I can't get hold of a WizKids mini, he is on it for printing them out for me. And yeah, the Soul the Holiest was the last one that he did for me, and it was just incredible. It was amazing. And we're going to do a stream again soon where we actually sit around and finish those, because it was one of the ones that we didn't get to finish because it was just such a well-detailed model. And the Artisan Guild stuff as well is just stunning. So Richard, that's awesome. If you want to add that into it, then I'll be more than happy to send it all off to the lucky winner. You can find Richard. You know what? I wonder if I've got... Let's see if I can enable that on chat. Submit. There we go. So every now and again, I will hopefully have a message come up that will have a link to Richard's Instagram that you can click and you can go find him there. That's where we met and through Band of Badgers. It's great to have the badgers involved. So great for you all to come along so often. With some of the best people that we've met in the community and are genuinely just awesome. I'm not sure if you can put pictures up on the chat. However, if you send it to me, I will smash it into OBS and I will see if I can get it to come up and I'll hover it around the screen as we go from there. Let's have a look. At the same time, I'm just going to try and get these really awkwardly positioned windows done. You know what? Oh, there go the lights again. Twice today this has happened. And I'm unsure as to why. Hopefully, the computer and everything is done, so it should be live. If I'm not, I'm sure I'll get a load of messages. Strange. There we go. It's all right. Not a problem at all. We'll turn the spotlights back on in a second. Let's go like that for now. Yeah, strange. That's twice today during the streams that's happened. That's all right. We have the technology to deal with it. So this is quite a big brush, and I'm actually going to have to go to something a little thinner again and just try and push that paint right up against those edges without trying to come onto the frames of the window. But luckily, we have a very good technique for if we do go over one of those edges, called the finger wipe. It's as simple as that. So it's a base layer in on those ones there. I'm going to very quickly hit that plug socket and just make sure that we've not tripped anything. Give me 2 seconds, guys. Yeah, look at that, working. Perfect. Well, we shall crack on then, shall we? So, now that we have some light above us again, I can see what I'm doing. Let's gonna water down some of this again, just to stop it from drying, because it's quite warm in here tonight. Cool, I've got a picture from Richard, so let's add that into OBS in a second. And because these are much thinner windows at the top here, I'm watering it down enough so it should be able to flow in. And I can leave that to dry for a minute, while we show you, dude. So Richard has just sent me the picture of the dragon. That's incredible. Wowzers. Right, I'm going to add that to OBS so you can all see it. Because now I want to enter. God damn. Whoo! Let's open up WhatsApp here on the computer. You guys are going to love this. This is absolutely nuts. So, let's just save that to our images. And let's... You guys ready? That is what Richard is throwing into the prize pot. That's incredible. We have what I can only describe as a Tiamat looking son bitch. Look at those heads. That is so awesome. Yeah, you got the 5 heads on there of the different chromatic dragons. Look at that. Oh. That is pretty awesome. So, I will make sure a picture of that goes up on social medias, and we'll tag Richard in there as well. I'll liaise with Richard about everything else to do with it. But that's the second item in the 50 follower giveaway. Second item done. An item I didn't even know was going to be there until a minute ago. Who doesn't want a freaking 5-headed dragon? So cool. So I'm gonna keep that just over here. I'm not as important. Let's just put that hovering around in the corner, just for reminders. And then I can just pull that up whenever we need to show it off. Richard, that's awesome. Thank you so much. I may not kill you on Thursday. And if this is how you're going to try and get out of it, then that's okay. So we're going to come back in again. That same ultramarine blue. Richard, that's very cool, mate. Very, very cool. And very, very kind and very, very generous of you. This is why I love the TTRPG community, because when we get together, it's just amazing. And yeah, Richard just showing again there that this community is just the best. So, now that we have a base layer of our ultramarine blue in there, I'm going to leave that one to dry for a bit, because we really want that to dry before we put in a second layer, and then we're going to start blending in some lighter colours near the top of those windows. I'm going to take some lead belcher, and we're going to go in on these little bars just here. So, I'm going to offload some of that into our palette, like so, and then we're going to thin it down. Got our pure water there. Metallics usually need a little bit more thinning down than the other ones I find, or else they get a bit wobbly bobbly, which is not what we want. And then we are going to apply that quite liberally to this central bar on this repulsor wing, just down here. I don't overly need to get inside or anything, but I'm going to, because I like to know that that bit's done. And although we've got our base ready, and this thing hovers just above it, I'm going to leave it so it's detachable from the base, I think. Because I want to be able to show off the Geonosian style base that we've done for it. Which I'm hoping Hagley and I, so D&D Painter 76, at Dragon School Studios, should be doing, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, a little stream, probably on their Twitch, where we intend to do some terrain basing together. Try and get them some content up for their channel and for their YouTube channel. So that is the lead belcher. Hardly noticeable, really, but it just adds a slightly different look to the grey that we already had on there. We're also then going to get a smaller brush. We're going to go around all of these little metal ringlets and eyelets, and we're going to start painting those up with lead belcher as well. But then with these ringlets, we're going to be going around with another blue, this time a contrast paint after it's dried, and adding a little bit of darkened blue to that metallic work, so that it just looks a little different from the greys that we've already got on there. Keeping it nice and thin with the metallics. And I'm trying my hardest to be steady to not go on to any of the yellow panels, because as soon as we do that, we're going to have to wash it back down pretty quick, or else we're going to end up with wearing that we don't necessarily want. Because we're going to add some wear and tear later on, some chip damage and some lead belcher and whatnot to it, but There's a slightly different process than just whacking on all of that metallic. That one there. I'm going to have a swig of my drink. Oh, no, I'm not. It's empty. Bad drills. Bad drills. Peaked too soon with that, didn't I? So these eyelets at the front here are very round. And as I come round in a top to bottom direction, I just don't want to, where I've got this watered down, I don't want to like spill out or have it roll down the Mini. So less is more. There you go. So there's Nightbot with Warrior Prince's Instagram. You guys should all go check out the awesome printing that Richard does. And hey, you might even see the dragon you could win. This dragon, which he has added to our giveaway. So make sure you're following this channel. And each week, every Monday, we are going to be adding a new item. It's open to everybody. And it's open worldwide. So have you guys managed to play any Star Wars Legion? Do you have any Star Wars Legion minis that you've painted up or any Star Wars things that you've done? I know that I only recently, in the grand scheme of things, got into Star Wars Legion. I've been painting D&D minis for quite some time now and some other board game minis, but as soon as like I had the opportunity to grab Legion, I knew that the quality of the minis and stuff like that. Absalom is back. Everyone, this is Absalom Dak. Absalom Dak's got their own channel, they're pretty cool. And they joined us last night, and they helped push us towards that 50 followers that we hit today. And they've been active in the streams, and they are just awesome people. So, yeah. Absalom Dak, this is a few of the guys from the Badgers here tonight. If you've not already seen Band of Badgers, it's a streaming channel run by Steve and Dave. Badger number 1 and Badger number 2. And yeah, they're just fantastic at networking, and you should totally check them out. I get to frequent their channel every now and again, as do some of the others that are here in the chat. Jeff and I are in, I'll say Last Son JT. Jeff and I are in the Dragonlance campaign together, which should be on this Friday, but no, people wanted to go to Gen Con. Shocking. But we'll let them off. We'll let them off. Okay, so we're just going to go around some of these extra eyelets again and just make sure that we've got the full coverage on that and there's no yellow poking through. Or else when we go to cover this in a blue contrast paint over the metallics, we're going to see a green poking through, and we don't want that. Self with some people. I don't know, sorry I missed your hello, but I was just testing my new headphones and didn't have Twitch chat on. No, that's absolutely fine. I just saw you go live, so I was like, oh, I'm going to jump in because you jumped in on some of our streams, and I just wanted to kind of help support the community, you know, so that's absolutely fine. No pressure. There never is any pressure. Always happy to just have people along, and always happy to try and get to other people's chats and to other people's streams, you know. So never feel the need to apologise to me for that. Okay, so we've got a tiny little hair on there. And hopefully I've got some tweezers here to get that off. There we go. Because that could get in the way. So, there are these two ringlets behind the hatch there. And then there's a bar that we want to get as well with that metallic paint. And once more, it's in a very awkward position that could result in me snapping parts of the Mini off, but we're trying our best to be careful. Have you been up to much tonight then, Absalom? Well, I don't know if you heard earlier, but Warrior Prince 3D, who is one of the people who streams with us on this channel every now and again, usually on a Thursday, lunchtime, for our little one-shot paint show, painting up the monster manual, has added the second item already. So now there's 5 items in this giveaway. And this, whoop, 5-headed dragon is being added to the mix. So we've got the D20 chunk, and we've got this dragon, which is incredible. Richard's 3D printing stuff is amazing. I'm going to keep singing his praises, especially now that he's added an item to the 50 follower giveaway. Right. Eyelets, 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 eyelets. Just making sure we haven't missed any other eyelets on there. No, just the bar at the back, which is good because we're running out of metallic paint in our palette. Okay. That is about as far as we're going to go with those ones there. I had to feed my bro's cat as he's in respite for a while, which means a white knuckle cycle ride around a load of road. Oh, God. Yeah, no, the trouble with being on a bike, you are so unprotected. And that just, it's not for me. It's not for me. Yeah, it's a good look, and well done on doing that. Right, I'm going to grab some corn red. And we're going to do the tips of the fins. I like this because it's got that, like, deepness to it. And I think it works really well in, like, small doses. I usually would, if I was going to do a whole mini in red, I would prime it black and dry brush brown and then this. But for what we're doing here with the tips of these fins, I'm going to go for a solid line of this. And then we're going to use a red and an orange to highlight the edges. I don't necessarily need to thin it down, because it is already a small area. I'm just letting the brush stroke pull off any more paint than we don't need. I also have to be careful because I don't have my nerd goggles on me. So trying to get in and do really fine detail is going to be interesting. But right now, I'm just going to get those edges on those fins. And once they're done, we're going to go back to the windows. That was a good line. There we go. First one was a little bit shaky hands. There go the lights again. It's interesting. I wonder if it's just so wet down here. Something's going on in the roof. I will have to get that investigated. Luckily, we've got a spare light. It's not a problem. So we're going to put that up there like so. And hey presto. I hate it, but walking takes so long as he's a few miles away. Golly gosh. That is... Yeah, don't be walking that. It's not what you want to be doing. I hope it's not too many main roads and it's not too dangerous for you, because that would suck if it is. People could be really careless in cars. Okay. Hello, Chaotic Paradox. We are back again, and so are you. Great to see you, bud. It's time to paint up the details on this. And because you've missed it, the second item has been added by Warrior Prince 3D to the giveaway, who does a paint show with us on a Thursday called Painting Up the Monster Manual. Boom! He's giving us this dragon to add to the giveaway. Which is incredible. And every time somebody new comes into chat, I'm going to keep showing that off because I'm just blown away by how cool it is. So make sure, tell as many people as you can. Let's get some more followers. Let's get more people involved. Thank you so much. I'm quite proud of this so far, to be honest. It's, I was sort of daunting trying to get that yellow on there. But now that it's on, I'm very happy with how it's turned out. I'm trying to get those fins looking nice and red. So that we can then edge highlight some red and orange onto there. Some brighter red and orange. And that should hopefully make them stand out. The ordnance. And then we're going to hopefully go back into the windows and see what we can do there. Is everyone having a nice evening? Anything special going on tonight apart from white knuckle rides past roadworks? So, we're going to take a little bit of this light blue, a little bit of that ultramarine blue, and a heavy amount of water. And I'm going to let that sink into the top of this window. We especially want to hit those corners and then seep down from there. And hopefully that'll give us a nice little wet blend to work with. The harder bit will be these smaller windows, but we seem to have got it. Anything that goes over the edge, little finger wipe, and we should have, let's try and get that up there. There we go. The start of a fade from there. Hey, Dragon Skull! He's here, we were talking about you. His ears were burning. He's here. Great to see you back, bud. We're back, we're doing the detailing after earlier stream where we hit the 50 followers. And Craig Richard from Warrior Prince has done it, you know. Look at this. All good, mate. Richard's added that to the prize draw. That is a 5-headed dragon that looks pretty tier mat to me. So now there's 5 items in the giveaway. And oh boy, am I excited. What are you up to tonight? What are your plans? What are you doing? Anything exciting? Anything noteworthy? Yeah, I know, right? Damn! Damn! Sent me a message as we started the stream. He's like, do you want me to add to it? I was like, God damn, son. So yeah, we'll put that out on the socials as well. Get people in on that one. So, now that we have a vast majority of set colours on there. Ah, look, we've missed some red there. Good job I was checking. Just walked in from work. Well, I hope work wasn't too shit. Because work can be shit. Obviously, once more, this giveaway will be open worldwide. But it'll only be open to followers here on Twitch. We will put it across all the social medias to let people know. But you've got to be here. You've got to be in chat. On that final week, 3 more Mondays, we will do a draw. And we'll see who's walking away with a big D20 and a dragon, and some other things. Starting back on the troll. Not bad today. Awesome. I look forward to seeing it, man. Like, I really like the base colour green that you had on there. It was looking phenomenal. So, let's have a look at where we are. I am going to take itty bitty bit of Black Templar, one of my all-time favourite paints, and we are going to, just where the banding is on those missiles, we're going to add it back in, because we've got a little bit of bleed from the two different paints. I'm just going to try and very gently with the tip of this artificer brush, just let that black sink into those recesses and really, like, hopefully define the areas of this missile. So there is missile 1. Let's bring this back over here. It's an awkward painting position, but at least you guys can see it. Little splurge there, but that's all right. Little finger wipe, and we can get rid of that. So, that should be those ones there. When do you paint the gunner? Yep. When do I paint the gunner? I will probably do that very shortly. I am going to dry brush the hell out of some Corax white on that. Or maybe some... what is it called? Matte white from the Army Painter. Yeah, let's do that. So let's do that now. Yes, it's a clone trooper, Absalom. So this is so Legion. You can play across 2 different time periods of the Star Wars universe. Obviously, we have the Galactic Empire era, and you have Rebels, and you have the Empire. I have a pretty strong Empire force, and I've got a small Rebel force, and I'm hoping to build upon those soon. And whereas in most things I went for the Rebels and the good guys, this time around I was like, you know what, I'm going to play Empire. And then my kids got really heavily into the Clone Wars, and I was like, well then, I best get the Clone Wars era one, and clones of the army that I've chosen to be. But I'm trying to do them all as the 212th Attack Battalion. So this is Obi-Wan Kenobi's Legion, because I rarely work in yellow, and I just figured it would be quite fun to do. And then realised how painful yellow is to paint en masse, especially with white. But actually, it's been really fun, and we got Cody done, we've got quite a few of the Phase 2 clones done, and some of the Phase 1s, but yeah, we've got some dice coming out for Legion soon as well. We've got some vehicle dice, 'cause it's a system that they don't have a dice for, yet it's one that you need. So, see a hole, fill it, am I right? That wasn't meant to be a pun or rude. I guess it could be taken that way. So I'm going to take matte white from the Army Painter, and I'm going to go in downstrokes on this Clone Trooper. I'm going to try and get it into this mini holder. Got some bleed tack on there, so it's all good. But then we also need to go around afterwards and pick out the areas of black again for their Under Armour. And we also need to pick out... Right, the mini holder's doing nothing here. The details on the face. Any yellow that's going to be on the shoulder pauldrons of the armour. And also the chest. The 212 have a triangle on their chest. They have yellow shoulder pauldrons. So we're going to try and do all of that one. Words to live by. Words to live by. Fluffy, thanks for laughing at me. That's all right. I'm amazed that I haven't said much worse things on stream, if I'm being perfectly honest. As I try and be a good boy. I have a ton of 25mm Star Wars minis for RPGs, clones, rebels, old Republic, ships, vehicles. I even have to scale an AT-AT. Holy hell. So is that for the Edge of the Empire and Force of Destiny and Age of Rebellion RPG then? And also, because asking for here in the studio, is it a game that plays well with minis, or is it better to be miniless and just do it all Theatre of the Mind? If it is that game. Saga Edition. Okay, cool. I will check that out. Because I've got Imperial Assault, which is a good little dungeon crawler, and I've got Legion, and I was wondering if I could somehow use those systems along with Age of the Rebellion and with like Force of Destiny and stuff like that to create a D&D like Star Wars system. So that's just the brushed on white for now, which is quite thin for now. We will go on a bit further with it once it focuses in. But it's actually been quite good for not going into the details on the face, which is actually perfect on that Phase 2 clone there. Oh, come on. Let's trade it up with my hand behind it. Gotta love autofocus cameras. How long will he be sat here? Place your bets now. There we go. Which is kind of like D&D 4th D20 system. Oh, cool. So I will definitely go and look that up, because who doesn't love a bit of Star Wars? So we're going to take some of our Praxetti white, and we're going to go down the Stormtrooper again. This time, using the same brush. We're not going to change that up. We've got this lovely, really thin, flat edge brush that I use for dry brushing like this. There we go, that's a lot brighter. It's going to give us the definition that we want. Especially when it comes to that face and the helm on there. So what I'm hoping to avoid doing is trying to paint in too much of the black when we come back to filling in the Under Armour there. So by keeping it all hopefully in the downward motions, we're only catching those top edges, which should just be enough to hopefully, once we've got the yellow on his helmet, because he's got the engineer helm, so they've got these big, thick yellow pads, or these plates to them, and then hopefully the black in between all of the armor pieces, which we'll do with the Black Templar contrast paint in a second, will be enough to give it that definition that we need for the Clone Trooper. I'm going to let that dry for a minute before we do anything like that, because we don't want the Black Templar to go too far. But one of the things I have to do now is I need to make this look battered and worn. And there's only one way to do this, and we're going to do it with sponge. So this is some upholstery sponge, a local, what's the best way to say? I guess upholstery store and also fabric dealer, fabric shop basically, had cut-offs that they couldn't use for any furniture or anything, and I was like, I will take those if possible. So now we have, one, good soundproofing and free soundproofing for a studio, but also great for wear, tear, rust and damage. So we're going to start with black and brown ink. And there's a reason for that. Absalom, they did loads of books for it and eras to set a game in, including the Old Republic, hell yeah, Rebellion, Clone Eras, and the future with Darth Krayt. That's very cool. So they basically went into the expanded universe and then went from there, because that's very, very cool. A lot of stuff there that Disney could have used it properly. But in Dave Filoni we trust. In Dave Filoni we trust, right? So I'm going to take, this is ink. So this is throwing my paint palette all over the table. This is De La Rowney acrylic ink. It's very watery, but it's very highly pigmented. And we are going to be using this for our wear and tear. We're going to take a small bit of foam to begin with. And we're just going to see how that does. I've got a pair of tweezers here that I'm going to hold on to. You could use a sponge brush, but I find that they don't clean up as well and they don't last as long, so I don't invest the money into them. We're going to take a little bit of brown, a little bit of black, dab some of that back off on the tissue, a little bit more brown to that one. And we're going to find those areas that the tank would take damage. So we're looking at these front points here. I'm going to add a heavy amount to this corner. And then once we've got that nice and saturated with some dark colours, once that's all dry, we'll add some lead belcher to that to give it that scratched up look. But what's good about the sponge is when you've ripped it apart, it gives you really random dots and bits to work with. But you can also streak it up from the front to give it those scratches as well. So you end up with lines like that. I like it for edge scratching. And just like we did with the dry brush earlier, when we're putting the base layers onto this, we're going to keep it directional from front to back. It's really going to show up on the yellow. But again, this is where, as it plows through whatever's in front of it, terrain, droids, separatist scum, or Jedi scum by the end of it. Who knows, it might be Order 66. Lee. We are going to just give it those extra, really deep looking scratches. It's almost like we're just kissing it to it. So I'm doing the motion before I even touch the Mini. And I'm trying to stay away from those metallic bits. And just let the sponge do the work. I was working on a game before the Old Republic when the Sith first invaded Jedi space. Nice. Naga Shadow and Markaragnos era. Cool. Lightsabers have a power pack with a cord. And primitive blaster and slug throwers with Sith swords. I love the idea of the lightsabers having the power pack, like classic 1977 A New Hope, because obviously they had like the power cord going up the sleeve, didn't they? But I suppose that's where the technology would have started, in a galaxy far, far away. That is a long, long time ago. So let's have a look at... I'm going to take the blasters off for a second, just so I can have a look underneath them. Because I've left them unglued so that I can move them. Because there are moving parts to this particular ship. And I haven't had to reload this brush yet. This sponge. We can just keep it like so. Which is what we want. And a bit heavier with the dabbing around the base of that. We're also going to do the same in these thruster areas. I'm going to stipple in quite a bit of that grime. I'm going to do most of it in brown, and then I'll add some black afterwards, so that we've got that dirt coming out of those thrusters, and then hopefully, or those repulsor drives, sorry, my apologies, we'll be able to add some pigment powder later on, and that will really give us those deep reds, because we're going with the Geonosian theme. And for those of you who didn't see, that's the base that we've got. So this is a 6-inch base that we did the other day. We've got it all sealed up now, and the repulsor tank will sit on top of that, and then we'll add some static grass tufts as well. Just some nice scorched earth ones to just add underneath it. So where the thrusters come out, which is on this angle patch here, I'm going to add a few more directional bits of dirt. But I'm going to go a bit heavier, because what I want is for this to look like that's where the engine is kicking out a lot of that grime. So that when we go back to it, it matches in with the back end of those thrusters, and we have something that looks like that. And then we can see all of those inking marks at the front that are adding those directional lines coming back. Most of those are going to get some metallic scratches drawn into them, and we'll do that with a very fine paintbrush. However, we will carry on just adding a bit more to this. So now that we've got underneath there done, we can put the blasters back on. I would actually quite like to add a little bit of gunmetal to any of the cannons. So we've got the heavy laser cannons, and we've obviously got the beam turret weapon here. So I'm going to take a tiny bit of lead belcher again. Same technique with the sponge, but this time it's going to be straight up with lead belcher. And this is on those beam weapons and on those blasters, so that we end up with like speckled metallics. Which then from different angles should give us different highlights. And what we will do as well is we'll go over these with a lighter silver in areas to give it that lighting definition. But we only really need to do mass areas that we can see. Tips of barrels are usually a lot more worn, because obviously that's where we see muzzle flash, and that's where we see a lot of damage done. And anywhere that like a cannon would come back, but I'm pretty sure that these bolter cannons or heavy laser cannons don't overly do that. But correct me if I'm wrong, and I will adjust my paint job. Let's give the inside of the turret, the hatch, a little bit of love with that as well. Just so that we're looking different from the top of the tank, and we've got that definition between inside and out. So, I'm going to add a little bit to the ordnance. It shouldn't really need much, because obviously it's brand new, and it wouldn't be all scratched up. And I think that will be probably it for... We need to add a little bit to that top of that turret there. We also are going to have to add a little bit, because I didn't think about it, of the black and brown mix to the top of that turret hatch, because when the hatch is closed, it still would be taking damage. So this is where we get to apply a different direction to it. I'm going to come from the top here and just whoop, give it those marks pulling down, as if it was, or has been, through the wars. Right. So again, I'm going to let that one dry for a bit. And now we're going to take our Black Templar, and we are going to go round all of those areas, like between the elbow pads, between like the collar and the chest plate. And we are going to try and add in the darker colour. And I'm really wondering if I have my nerd goggles up here, because they are going to help a lot if I do. So I'm going to have a quick look. Oh, we do! I'm totally always prepared for these streams, I promise. Always prepared. And if not, we can improvise, adapt, and overcome. So, let's grab... I think that'll be enough. Only a 1.5 magnification. A little light on there, just so I can help see what I'm doing. And you get this lovely look of me with No shame here on the internet. But God damn, I love these glasses. What I really would like, though, is if that could go into that mini holder. I might be able to get it in there. No, that's never going to go into that bit. Let's see if I can hold it there for the time being. So, this will probably go pinging out in a second. As long as we can get the job done, for those bits that you can see, we'll have achieved what we want. So right now I'm painting the black back in to between the armor, to his gloves, and anywhere that there would be a heavy amount of shading. That way in a second I can apply the quick amount of browns through to yellows for the pauldrons and for the helmet for this 212th Attack Battalion Engineer. I've seen a lot of people do the 501st for Star Wars Legion, and yeah, it's a paint job that I think I would much rather brave this than that, because there are so many like straight lines down the center of the armor in this like V shape that turns to a line on the helmet. And there you go, it pinged off like we said it would. But I'm just not, I don't think I'm brave enough to attempt that just yet. So we do need to get back into those between the pauldrons and the chest bits. And we're going to try get that back in there just for those last little bits. So, I'm going to come down here like that. Very gently trying to just get in there. Doesn't need to be too much. We're going to let the white and the pauldrons do the rest of the work. And luckily there's a nice big dip in the top of this cannon. So we should be able to get into his neckline. So we are there. Right. Right. Let's have a quick gander here. Awesome. Here we go. So let's crack on with the next bit. We're going to take some of our oak brown. We no longer need our nerd glasses. They're going to come off. I'm going to grab. There it is. So this is Bear Brown from the GM starter set from the Army Painter, but it's also known as Oak Brown in their main range, and is possibly one of the nicest browns out there. It's very rich, and it adds an amazing base layer for yellows as you work your way up through oranges and yellows. It's just a fantastic go-to, and yeah, big fan of it. I need to get some more actually because I am running out. And all of that yellow was done with a base of the same brown, which we were talking about earlier today on that stream. So it's a little too thin in some places, so let's just knock that water back a bit. And we're just going to gently apply this to anywhere where we're going to have yellow on the mini. So we're looking at shoulder pauldrons. We are looking at the V on the chest. And we are looking at the patches on the helmet, say patches, the panels on the helmet where the engineers have colour. I think this is probably one of the fiddlier minis from Legion that I've had to do to date, just because of how I have to hold it, and it doesn't quite go into a stand to be held properly. That's all right. Let's grab the brown for the chest. And then we want to get those elbow pads as well. As I don't go for the full diagonals on every panel, I just pick out some of the main ones. And then most people get the gist from there. Plus I don't want to give myself too much work. Sometimes I find less is more when it comes to a Mini. And that is those bits all done there. Just a tiny bit more on the chest, so I'd like to go onto that area that's just raised at the front of the engineer's chest, which is just there. And that is the basis for the yellow, all on that bit there. It's the only bits that poke out. It's the only bits that we should really need. The only thing I need to get is the outside panels on the helmet. And then while he dries, we'll go in and we'll do some more of the wear and tear on the actual tank. So is anybody going to be playing Baldur's Gate 3 in a few days then? I'm very jealous. Of those that are going to be. Okay, now we've got all of the brown ready on that one. It's good to go. So the helmet on an engineer usually has a white stripe down the center, and then we have this thick armor plating on either side of that center stripe. And here we go. So all of these areas, especially at the front where we've got this heavier brown inking, I'm going to take lead belcher. I'm going to paint in the lines, the scratches, and all of those, so that it really looks like it's taken a beating and taken some hits. And it gives the metallic look, a bit of a darker outside, almost like a cartoon line or line work. And I find that really helps wear, tear, and damage really stand out. Let's grab some more music. There we go. So that's coming to an end. Right. I'm going to thin down the lead belcher. And we are going to start painting in some of this wear, tear, and damage right down here at the front to begin with. Across these panels where it's most important. This is where the tank will be hitting into things. And also, obviously, like terrain and anything that's kicking up would be damaging it more so. And we're going to make sure that we leave areas of brown and black around the outside of this lead belcher to frame it almost. And make it look like a really deep scratch. I may have to put on my nerd goggles for this, but we'll see. We'll see. I certainly probably will for a lot of the longer lines, but things that are just quite thick, we're gonna just add them in there as we go. We'll show you how that looks in a second. So, this is the kind of effect that we're going for here. On those silver bits with the black around the outside, those heavier scratches, those marks, that's what we're going for. Same again on that side. And then we've really got that metallic look underneath the paint. So, Once more, I'm going to take the glasses off. Yeah, well, then with pride, I couldn't paint without them. You know what? Dragon Skull, I absolutely love mine. And I'm going to put them onto this next bit because we have this lovely set of lines that we managed to get in up the front. And I just don't not want to do them justice by effing it up, basically. I really want them to have those nice deep black lines on the outside. And the goggles help. I use them for doing things like eyes, which I wish I'd never started doing because now I can't not do eyes on minis. And it's a curse. But I think I'm quite proud of what I can do as a painter, but like these upped my game hugely. And yeah, I adore my nerd goggles. So I want to try and keep the point on this as fine as possible. Because obviously like the sponge has done a lot of the work, but we don't want to go outside. We are painting within the lines. We're not going to do it on the back panels because that's where like the grime is coming out of those thrusters. But we are going to get these edge highlights around here. And some of these lines and scratches that are coming up the tank. So forgive me while I go quiet as I concentrate on this section of work. I really don't want to mess it up. Any more creeping up there? Yeah, we've got some on the center of that bit there. A few just there. Okie dokie. You're almost there. So I'm going to take away this line here. Extra careful on the inside of those window frames, just to make sure that we have nothing going onto those windows themselves. We have a nice definition between the yellow lines going up the tank and the windows themselves. There we go. So far, this is the wear and tear that we've got on the front of it. And that will probably do for that there. It's more effective over the yellow, but we do have areas on the grey that we've done it. But it's definitely more effective along that front section there. I am going to go back and add some of the brown to the sides because I realise I haven't put any down here, and obviously that is a big area that would be heavily scratched on this tank. So let's grab our sponge. Get the black and the brown, a little bit heavier on the brown, dabbing it off on the tissue there. I'm going to come down those scratch marks pretty much all the way down, hitting any height or any pointing out edges more than anything else, because obviously that's where it would catch on things, and then the driver would adjust. Or you'd hope he'd adjust. And again, we're going from front to back. So, that's that bit all done there. Let's have a quick check. Okay, so we're not doing bad on time. Not doing bad on time at all. So we've probably got about another 40 minutes to play with, but actually I don't know if I'm going to need all of that time. I'm going to let that sit for a bit before we do any of the scratch work down the side. I'm going to go back to our trooper. I'm going to take out the second part of the yellow, which is our Joe Caro orange. I'm going to put some of this in our paint palette. I'm going to water it down. Water it down. Let's grab some water and just start bringing that in from one side. Then, using our artificer brush, once more, we are going to be a little less liberal now. I don't want it to go into the hole. So there are these like little holes on the pauldrons of Engineers for Clones. I do not want any paint in those holes apart from the brown. Just like the tank, anywhere there's a recess, we want that brown to be the bottom colour. And that way, when we use the final shade, which is going to be our iodine yellow, when it sinks in there and blends all of the oranges and the browns together, it's really going to work and show us the difference between all of those. Get those shoulder and elbow pads fully blocked out with the Joe Caro, and then we'll go in with a very light Tau Ochre, and we'll be doing the same thing. We'll be going over the areas, and then the best part of this whole thing is adding that contrast yellow that just pulls apart and just looks the perfect colour for the 212. So Dragon Skull, have you got any more Legion to paint up yet? I know that obviously you did Ventress, which was completely awesome. But I don't know if you've bought any more of the minis yet to have some fun with. I finally also got my kids to the end of the Clone Wars today. And they were just like, Maul! I was like, yeah, Maul. So because there are individual segments to this helmet, I am trying to not get any of this in the gaps between them. I want that brown again to do the same work as it's doing on the pauldrons and on the tank. We want those to be our recessed areas. So right now, we could be quite happy with, if we were going to go for the Mandalorian Super Commandos finish, I have those too, bud. We have, yeah, all 5 armies, or a spattering of each one. So the Shadow Collective is the other army that you can get, which is Maul, then, not Maul and Ventress, Maul and then like Shadow Collectives, Pike Syndicates, Black Sun, yeah. But if we were going to go with the Ahsoka division, the split off from the 501st, which I believe come the 322nd, then that would be a good colour. A very good colour for Ahsoka Tano, that Joe Caro orange. But we're not done. We want our Tau Light Ochre, my favourite Citadel colour, which is around here somewhere. Because we used it today. There it is. Usually keep it near the front. You're never alone with your clone. I painted the one for my 52 miniatures project. Yeah. It's such an awesome project. 52 weeks, 52 miniatures. And like, I can't, you are smashing through them, bro. It's like, yeah, putting Kelly to shame. So I'm going to take some of that Tau Light Ochre, and I shouldn't need too much. That's why I'm going to clean the brush off of any thick paint. Take our pure water. That was probably too much. So I'm going to spread it over to there. Clean it again. And this time round, keeping it nice and thin, we're going to come in over that Joe Caro, especially anywhere that light would be hitting. Top half of the pauldrons, edge lines. panels on top of the head. That one has, however, gone slightly into one of those holes. So I'm just going to take some of the paint off the brush and just pull it back out with the bristles. And there we go. Saved it. I'm going to get that last elbow pad. And then we just need to get the chest triangle. So once more, this is as far as we've got with the cloner. Which you can see is already taking effect. There's a little bit in that hole as well, actually. We're going to clear that one out. But once that's dried, we're going to coat those orange areas in an iodine yellow. And the difference that you'll see should be quite dramatic. It should become a lot more brighter and it should really pop off there. So we have the clone is pretty much all done. I need it to dry before we do anything else with it. But actually what we could do is take some Runefang steel, if I can find it. Where are you? Interesting. There it is. You shake that up because I don't use this one very often, but this is a lot lighter in terms of silver. And actually, with one of the sponges, we can go in over the tops of the cannons and just pick out those higher areas. Dab a lot of that off again. There we go. So we'll start over here with the clones cannon. We're getting that top edge there and anything across the top that is really standing out. So it should be like that. The same again, we're going to do it for the bar that's in the center here. I'm going to grab a smattering of that across there. Do it again on this one in the center. Adjust my sponge position. And then we're going to grab our heavy laser cannons, definitely across the muzzle, definitely across the top bits there, and a small smattering across the actual middle bit there, the barrel. And again, just getting the top of that muzzle. We really want that to be silver. And there we go. So, how are we looking? Apart from adding decals, I'm not far away from being done, I don't think. We've got most of the wear and tear done. We've got the ordnance done. We've got the hatch done. So, that is pretty much the bodywork done. I might take a dark blue contrast and try and go over some of these metal bits, just to give it a different colour, you know, rather than the silver of the scratches. Let's take a little bit of a German blue. I'm going to let a lot of that go. Take a lot of it off the brush. I'm going to gently apply that. Yeah. And again, we're going to be careful not to hit any of that yellow, or else it will just turn green. And what we should end up with is a very deep metallic blue. Like so. Is that like a dry brush technique? As in applying the contrast paint to the top of the metal, Absalom Dak? If so, it's more a case of we take a small amount onto the tip of our bristles and then we just touch that to some of our kitchen roll and we let that soak into the kitchen roll so that we've only got a small amount on our brush and it's more pigment than it is water, but it's still a very thin amount. And with that, as we go over that entire area of lead belcher, what should happen is it changes the colour of the metallic to a blue, as the metallic pigment should still show through. It's actually a technique that Richard from Warrior Prince showed me a few weeks ago on painting up the monster manual, and I fell in love with it. To the clone's gun. Yeah, essentially. So it's a stippling effect with a sponge. So it's essentially just going up through the shades, and you are taking most of it off again like you would a dry brush, but then you are stippling it down on top. And because you're not going too heavy, you're not pushing it into the recesses. So I guess in a way it is kind of like a dry brushing technique. Once more, we're just going to go back in again over the other side of the metallics on these big looplets. Which I like that they've got these on there. Like, just the extra little details just makes the model more interesting. And I like the idea of having something like blue be the colour of the metallics, because it pops off the yellow a bit more. And I do like contrasting colours. Also, it should make our scratches, our wear and our tear, way more effective. This is where I find myself like heavily concentrating, just so I don't mess it up at this stage. Right. So that is the majority of those all done. Just those ones there left at the front to do. And do I think there's anything else left to do on this tank? Or should I say that is tabletop ready? Oh, no, I know what's left to do. We've got to put the scratch damage down the sides, which we didn't do earlier. And because it's such a heavy area of damage, we can do that with a sponge. I don't need to go in with the brush. I can stipple it on and stroke it down the sides. Haha. So. And take our lead belcher. And this is basically dry brushing with a sponge at this point, yeah. I'm going to come down the sides. Some areas will get stippled. Some areas will be heavier with a pull. There we go. So, that is damage down the sides, damage all over the front. We've got the windows to a base standard of blue with a lighter blue at the top. And I could probably go in there with some purple washers and get them to sink down into the corner. We've got some wear and tear on the top. I have missed 2 little looplets at the back there, but I can go in after the stream and do those. I'd certainly say that is tabletop ready. However, we have a clone to finish. Hopefully, our clone is dry, of which they are. So this will be our final step. Mine is putting it on the stand and adding some of our pigment powder. This is iodine yellow. I love this stuff. It is really freaking fun to work with. I'm going to take a small amount of it and knock just a tiny bit off it. And we're going to coat anywhere that we did brown and orange in it. We're going to let it sink into all the recesses of those areas, but not into anything else, especially not the white. We do not want it to touch the white, or else we will end up with yellow armor on a trooper. Unless you're in the 327th, who have, I believe, the most amount of yellow on their armor. Then we're going to leave it where it is. Come all the way down the back of the helm here. Just stabilize my shaky, shaky hands. And that is one clone trooper ready to blast some clankers. And there he is. We've got the matching yellow. Once that dries, that will match up with the rest of the tank. With the rest of my clone forces for the 212. And shouldn't look too different from them, even though we spent a lot more time doing the armor on our single bods. But for a vehicle hitting the table, I am very happy with that. So, basing. I'm going to grab some glue. And I've got this glue that I enjoy, which is actually from like a local hardware shop. And I got this and some accelerator together, but it's really high viscosity. And I know that like most people are like all about plastic cement and stuff like that for melting the plastic. This stuff has just been brilliant. I've really, really enjoyed it. And I will be buying it again. It dries mostly clear unless you're using the accelerator. But for areas like this, where I'm going to be applying a mini to a base that we won't see it underneath, we are good to go. I'm not going to apply any accelerator to that bit, because although the accelerator is great and it makes it set a lot quicker, what we end up with is a slightly brittler glue. And right now, we don't want that. We want it to be as strong as possible, because let's face it, we are going to be picking the mini up by the tank rather than the base. And the base has got actual rocks on it and bits of slate, so it is really heavy. And hopefully, we'll show you how we do that during one of the Dragon's Core Studio streams. So, what I need now is some pigment powder. And those pigment powders are from Vallejo. The Vallejo pigment powders we use are these. So, this is from their rust effect. And it works so well for Martian red planets that it's amazing. And we use 3 of them in total. This is, I use the lighter one first on the higher points. Then we blend in with the medium, and then we use the iron oxide, which is like the deepest red for really getting into grimy areas, the bottom of boots, and like it'll be in like where the thrusters are, or the repulsor drives. And yeah, that will be our mini almost complete. So, I'm going to start with the rust oxide, or oxido, which is our palest one. And this stuff comes out quite thick. I just apply it to the cap, to be honest, and then go from there, because it's such a fine powder. If I sneeze, I'm going to send that whole tub into the air. And I'm going to be really liberal here. I'm really going to come in and apply that to so much of this lower area of the tank and to some of that base underneath it. Like the dust has been kicked up all around it. As we want that Geonosian, dead, sandy kind of planet look to it. And this stuff just sticks to it. It's really, really good. It just stays on there, and it's almost like painting with powder. And then when you've got the majority of that there, you can either tap it and get some of that off, or do the old-fashioned little blow. So now we've got that one on. Actually, we're going to go up the other side as we realised we didn't go up the side of this repulsor side. Here we go. So let's get it right into there, all the way across these. And again, it's like dust has been kicked up. We don't need to be amazingly neat with it. We just need to have it in areas where it would have time to settle and change some of the colours on this vehicle. So, that's number one. Number two, we're going to do the same again, but we're not going to take it as high. We're going to leave this in the bottom sort of half of those side bits, and we're going to leave it in some of the higher recesses where maybe like some of the dust would get trapped. In front of the thrusters and along the back edges of panels. I'll be catching a little bit in there, a little bit over there. Around here, across the top slightly, and that's all there is to that one. And this is where the magic happens. This pigment powder, the brown iron oxide, is really red and very brown at the same time, and I love it. I'm going to blow that all off of there. And what we can do here is this is where we can really, really make a difference to any shaded areas. Oop. There we go. I dip that in there. I put some in here, into the cap. I'm going to put that away from us. That's my most used one for the clone armies. And then I really want to go to town along the bottom edges and just in front of the thrusters. I want to get like inside this bit over here. Maybe across some of this bottom edge. We're going to go all the way across the bottom at the back where the dust has been kicked kicked up. You should see happening now. There's a nice blend between the two, which on that bit there is going to start looking like this. And especially like around the front of those thrusters. I'll get that finished off and then I'll show you where we've got it to. Going to hit the front at the bottom here. We're definitely going to go dark at the front underneath, where more people are likely to see parts of the Mini, but also where it'd be like digging in and where anything that we do would really show. While that's mostly thin, we're going to get some of those front edges. I'm going to set some of that darkness just in front of the windows and around the turret, and then across there. Get behind the thrusters. Make it look really grimy, like it's been pushing through the Geonosian sands. Here we go. So, I am covered in pigment dust, and that's absolutely fine. Because I can wash my hands in a minute. Put those ones in there. Our tank looks like this. And that is where I will probably leave it. I am very happy that that is to a tabletop standard and that I can take that to a table and be very happy with, hopefully, scaring the shit out of some opponents with it. I'm going to put a black band around the base, and we will put a layer of matte sealer on it, just to stop any of that pigment dust from coming off on our hands like this, because I mean this stuff does get everywhere. And that will keep everything sealed in. Once that's dried after 24 hours, I'll put a few static grass tufts of scorched earth, which are like red and browns, a lot like the iron oxide, and that'll tie the last of the things together. And at that point, we will put it up on Instagram. We'll show you guys how we did it. And hopefully, this will win me a few tournaments in the next coming weeks. It probably won't. I just like to play. And I like to do thematic armies. But that's that. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming along. As always, everybody in chat, you blow me away every time for just taking part in the shows. Thank you so much. Again, Richard at Warrior Prince 3D, I can't thank you enough for adding to the giveaway. We are 2 items in already. So tell all your friends about it. You can win this awesome dragon. All you got to do is be a follower here on Twitch. And if you're on YouTube, it's twitch.tv/Dragonborn Industries. And every Monday for the next 3 weeks at 8 o'clock, I will be adding an item during a stream to the giveaway. And on that third and final stream, there'll be a keyword in chat. And one of you will win the chunky dice, this dragon, and the 3 other items. Guys, I will be back probably at some point tomorrow. I might even be back during the night if I can't sleep to play some video games. But until then, thank you so much. And may the dice gods be ever in your favor. Have a great night, guys. Thank you.